Hello, everyone. There are moments in history that unfold in almost total silence, major turning points that occur without the clamor of official announcements. Imagine a dramatic twist that doesn't make headlines, a decision that requires no press conference, yet reshapes the contours of the future, a deal struck in the shadows with no filmed handshakes or solemn speeches. This is precisely the silent drama that played out with General Motors, the titan of the American automotive industry. There was no president, no top executive in the spotlight, absolutely nothing of the sort. Instead, a simple signature was affixed to a contract between the Detroit giant and Canada. This seemingly trivial act was enough to redirect billions of dollars, move thousands of jobs, and shift the future of an entire industry northward, far from its historic home. This event was not a simple expansion, nor a strategic merger. It was something much deeper, much more radical. It was a silent exodus, an escape orchestrated away from prying eyes. The scale of this move went almost unnoticed in the United States, where headlines were saturated with trade wars, fiery political speeches, and endless controversies. While attention was diverted, General Motors was operating behind the scenes, making a strategic shift of paramount importance. A shift that would inevitably impact the lives of millions of American workers without the general public ever being truly informed. The most troubling aspect of this affair is not so much the decision to expand, but rather a strategy of escape. The American giant was not fleeing production problems or a temporary crisis. No, it was fleeing an economic and political environment that had become too unpredictable, too uncertain for its long-term industrial ambitions. The question remains, why did no one see it coming? Why did no alarm bells ring? Why did the American government, the supposed guardian of its own economy, remain a spectator, watching this monumental transformation in deafening silence? The truth is that this decision did not just redefine the future of General Motors. It exposed a hidden flaw, a deep crack in the very structure of the American economy. If what you've heard so far piques your curiosity and you want to discover the secrets behind these great maneuvers that shape our world, then now is the perfect time to give us a boost. We are aiming for the goal of 16,000 subscribers, and each new subscription is another stone in the foundation. Take a second to subscribe and activate the notification bell. It's a simple gesture for you, but it helps us immensely to continue producing in-depth analyses like this one. Your support is our driving force. Thank you so much, and let's continue this journey behind the scenes of power together. Sometimes the biggest upheavals happen without a sound, and what happened was only the beginning of a long series of consequences. Imagine for a moment entire cities, communities built over decades around a single industry, suddenly facing an abyssal void. The factories, which once formed the economic and social backbone of these regions, closed their doors one after another with almost general indifference. Thousands of families, entire generations who had found stable employment, a home, and a true identity in the factories of General Motors found themselves abandoned, left behind. And all of this happened without the slightest warning, without any preparation. City names like Flint, Lordstown, or Spring Hill once resonated as symbols of American industrial power. These cities hummed day and night to the rhythm of assembly lines. They manufactured engines, assembled vehicles, and produced what embodied the nation's strength and prosperity. The streets were lively. Children attended schools funded by the company's success, and families were united by an unwavering loyalty to the giant that provided their livelihood. But that world shattered, and the change came with the brutality of a cleaver. When General Motors decided to move its production to Canada, it wasn't just a simple relocation of assets. It was a deep tear, an emotional and social fracture, a collapse of everything that constituted the daily lives of these populations. The workers, often loyal to the company despite wage concessions and benefit cuts made over the years, were confronted with a harsh reality. They were no longer considered profitable enough. The drama was not just about lost jobs, but about the complete erasure of a collective identity. These workers, who had built their entire lives around this company, found themselves disoriented, stripped of their pride and their future. This wasn't just a layoff plan, it was the annihilation of an entire culture, a way of life. And yet the question remains, why did this monumental change unfold in such a heavy silence, leaving behind not only abandoned factories but, above all, a profound loss of hope for thousands of workers? The real shock for them was realizing that an entire nation could be abandoned without a sound, without a protest. How could a decision of such magnitude, with such devastating consequences, have gone unnoticed in Washington? Federal authorities silently observed an event that would reshape the very heart of the American industry without ever truly reacting. The complete lack of intervention, parliamentary debate, or even a simple public stance from political leaders remains a troubling and unanswered question. Behind the scenes of power, laws were debated, economic plans were drafted, but the priorities seemed to be elsewhere. While General Motors quietly moved billions of dollars and thousands of jobs across the Canadian border, the American political apparatus seemed paralyzed. Such a movement of capital and production should have triggered all the alarms, awakened the consciences of legislators. But instead, Washington found itself mired in a whirlwind of partisan politics, divergent interests, and internal struggles. The system, which was supposed to protect workers and national industry, failed miserably. The warning signs of this great decline were there, visible to anyone willing to see them, but policymakers chose to look away. Essential debates on labor rights, international competition, industrial relocation, and strategic economic choices were stifled by sterile ideological quarrels. Each political camp fought for its own ideas rather than for a common and prosperous future for the country. America watched its industry leave, but it did not act. The slowness of the American political machine in adapting to a rapidly changing world is absolutely striking. Legislators had all the cards in their hands to create a more competitive environment, to prepare the automotive industry of tomorrow. Instead, they too often opted for catchy headlines, short-term measures, and superficial solutions that did not address the real and profound needs of the economy. Washington's silence not only allowed the industry to escape, but it also opened the door to a new era, an era where crucial strategic choices are no longer in the hands of Americans, but are decided elsewhere. While the United States was lost in endless debates, Canada, for its part, was advancing its pawns with discretion and formidable efficiency. Where Washington hesitated, Ottawa acted and took concrete measures. The Canadian government, in close collaboration with its most industrialized provinces like Ontario and Quebec, managed to build an extremely favorable ecosystem for foreign investment. They created a place where companies could establish themselves and thrive with peace of mind, far from the vagaries of a fractured and unpredictable American domestic policy. Generous tax incentives, guarantees of modern infrastructure, and above all, rock-solid political stability made Canada an irresistible playground for giants like General Motors. While America was deeply divided, Canada offered companies what they needed most: predictability. Where the United States struggled to adopt clear and sustainable industrial policies, Canada provided clear and effective answers to the needs of the automotive sector. Thus, General Motors, driven by a quest for stability and certainty, made the rational choice to move a significant part of its production north. It was not a betrayal, but a carefully considered strategic decision with a single objective: to ensure the company could continue to evolve without being constantly hampered by growing political uncertainty in the United States. The message sent was both simple and powerful. When the business environment becomes too unstable, even a company as deeply rooted in American history as General Motors will eventually choose to leave. In this specific case, it was Canada that was able to offer a way out, a refuge where the automotive industry could thrive, sheltered from the turbulence. This choice not only dealt a severe blow to the American industry, it revealed a growing gap between the opportunities offered by Canada and those left fallow by the United States. While the automotive industry was redefining itself in Canada, American dealerships found themselves facing an unprecedented crisis. The new models simply weren't arriving anymore. The trucks and SUVs, which once filled the immense dealership lots, were now conspicuously absent. Delivery numbers, once regular and predictable, dropped sharply, turning what should have been a simple stock shortage into a veritable commercial disaster. Dealerships, which had long relied on customer loyalty and attractive promotions, saw their relationship with consumers deteriorate at an alarming rate. Customers, accustomed to choosing from a wide range of vehicles and negotiating prices, arrived in desperately empty showrooms. They discovered there was almost nothing to buy. No available cars, no clear delivery timeline, and most importantly, no possible discounts. The dream of owning a new car faded as inventories dwindled. Even worse, financing, which was the cornerstone of the sales model, became increasingly difficult to obtain. General Motors, in an attempt to limit its own financial losses and risks, drastically tightened its credit conditions. This decision cut off many consumers' access to loans they had once taken for granted. Loyalty rebates disappeared, as did the famous 0% financing options. A huge gap opened up between consumer demand and the almost non-existent supply, and dealerships began to feel the unbearable pressure. Many of them had to close their doors, unable to cope with the new reality. This was not just a problem of missing products, it was a deep crisis of confidence. Customers felt betrayed by a brand to which they had given their loyalty for decades. General Motors had not only reduced its production, it had broken one of the pillars of its business model, the sacred relationship with the end consumer. In the void left by General Motors, other brands, deemed more reliable and better organized, began to gain ground, capturing a disappointed and frustrated clientele. General Motors' decision marked the beginning of the end of an era for the global automotive industry. America, which once embodied the undisputed epicenter of automobile manufacturing, found itself progressively marginalized. As other regions of the world took the lead, the industry's center of gravity shifted to Canada, Europe, South Korea, and China. The American industrial model, centered on mass production and a traditional workforce, failed to adapt to the new demands of a globalized and hyper-competitive market. Innovation, agility, and the rapid adoption of new technologies became the new priorities, and these regions were able to meet these challenges much better than the United States. Canada, for example, created a stable and predictable business environment. The truth is simple. The traditional industrial model is now obsolete. The new factories are no longer simple assembly lines. They are data centers where artificial intelligence and automation dominate. The car of tomorrow is no longer just a machine for driving. It is a machine that collects data, optimizes routes, and communicates in real time with its environment. The global automotive industry is reorganizing before our eyes, and the United States, once the undisputed leader, has become just one destination among others. The real challenge for America is not just the loss of vehicle manufacturing. It lies in the fact that its entire economic model is being called into question. The automobile as we knew it is disappearing, and America will have to redefine its place in this new era, where roads are not the only things being transformed.